Hello. So today I wanted to talk about being able to accept receiving help and also being able to help properly other people because both are intimately linked with each other. Um, in our culture, this is probably not the same all around the world, but at least in our culture, the biggest difficulty when receiving help, there's two main factors. The first one would be the perception of receiving help, the way that we perceive it ourselves. And the second one would be the people helping you being bad at helping. So that's why I wanted to touch both subjects a little bit. Um, so the perception of receiving help. The biggest thing in all culture where it came from was World War II, which there's a lot of things that comes from World War II, coincidentally. Um, World War II was the first war, not necessarily the first war, but the main war where the strength of the industry and the strength of the economy really defined the winners of the war. It was no longer about the number of troops. Like, yes, number of troops definitely had an impact, but it was more important to have a strong economy behind the troops than it was to have a good amount of troops. A lot of wars before that, when you had a lot of troops, you would ultimately overwhelm the enemy. And if you had a bad economy behind those troops, well, you would have more casualties, but you would still be able to push through. So that's when there was this shift of mentality toward we need to have a strong economy, and then there was a lot of propaganda toward making the economy stronger, working for the country, being a strong soldier. And what is a strong soldier is someone who is, like in the propaganda, of course, it's someone who is independent and is strong and doesn't need any help. So there was this growth of this mentality of no, no, I don't need your help. I can do it myself. Kind of like to prove to yourself that you're strong, right? And of course, that is wrong. Just because you need help does first off, it doesn't mean you're gonna need help all the time. You might need help one time. It doesn't make you less strong. Like if I wanted to lift a car with my bare hand, I wouldn't be able to do it. I would need help to do it. That doesn't make me less strong, just mean that the task is impossible by my own hand, right? And there's another thing where you can also seek out proper help of, you either you look for someone to do it for you or you look for someone to help you so that you can do it yourself next time. There's also that you can do in order to, you're not helping, you're not searching for help for the task, but you're searching for help to help yourself, and then being more autonomous and stronger. But even then, by the way, just as a saying, there's nothing wrong with being dependent on other people. That is also something that is perceived for the same reason. It's also something that's perceived as being weak, and that is completely wrong. I'm not gonna go into that today, but just as a saying, yeah, that's also completely wrong. Um, there is the myth of, like if you can do it yourself, you're gonna have personal growth, you're gonna become stronger or whatever just because you can do it yourself. That is incorrect. You will grow stronger if you do it. Doesn't matter if you get help, because you will learn from the experience, and then maybe the next time you would be able to do it yourself. So that's a myth that we need to throw away. Um, and yeah, that's basically just popular thinking again. And another big thing, of course, that you hear all the time is work smarter, not harder. Yet, so many people are doing just the opposite because it's like, oh, I can do it this way. If I push harder, so they just push harder without realizing that you just need to turn the thing sideways or whatever. Like now I'm giving physical example of help, but all of that also applies to um, like mental help or emotional support or all kinds of like if you have like a problem that you need a social problem that you need help with or anything like that, all of these things can apply to that. And work smarter versus harder also applies to all that. And that's one thing. If you accept help once at least, you might learn a thing that will help you work smarter in the future that you didn't realize existed. A lot of things that I do personally is I do a lot of research online when I want to learn about something, and I listen to many different people, and that's where I learn my ways of working smarter. There you go. And see, he's just asking me help right now for me to hold it. He can't hold it himself. He's asking for help. So I'm helping. Um, so like I said earlier, one of the factors why sometimes people are reluctant for asking for help, or when someone offers help, just accepting it. Like a lot of people are apprehensive, and the reason for that is a lot of people who never received help don't understand how to help. Because of this mentality of doing it yourself, well, there's a lot of people who, when they're trying to help, they're just gonna be doing it themselves. So essentially they're seeing you struggling with something, and they're like, "Here, let me do it," right? And then they just take over. So that's not helping. That's taking over. That's a very, very bad thing. It just creates frustration, and the person who need help isn't learning anything, isn't growing. The only thing that they're learning is that help is a negative thing. Um, so in that, there's one of the thing would be the way to propose help. That's a big thing. The first step is you don't just impose your help. You ask, do you need help? Are you okay? Do you need me for something? That kind of thing. You need to give the person a choice. If the person says yes, please, then yeah, go ahead and help. Otherwise, if they're like, no, I'm okay, I can do it, leave them alone. Leave them to it. And don't observe, being like, yeah, yeah, okay, I'll see if you can do it. Like, no, that's bad. That's bad. But it's all things that I've seen in the past. You know, it's things that I've seen people do, or that I gave the impression myself of, like, it's like, well, stop watching me. I'm not watching you. I'm on my phone or whatever. But accidentally, it did occur sometimes that I was giving this impression of, okay, well, now I'm watching them doing the thing that I know I could help, and they're struggling. But sometimes the struggle, like, they want to try hard, right? So that's their choice. If they want to keep trying hard, let them try hard. Um, and when you're helping, there's a big difference between once again, taking over and actually helping out. You have to, you have to let them grow. You have to give them space that they can actually do it. You're there to support emotionally, or just a helping hand or something like that. Give advices, teach perhaps, but don't do it for them. That's the worst thing you can do. And yeah, a lot of people, they don't understand that. Instead, they just want to do it for them. And then when it's someone that just wants to do it for you, there's the frustration in the voice. It's very important that you don't demonstrate frustration. That when you're trying to help someone, you're actually trying to help someone. You're not. If you demonstrate frustration, or your patience wearing thin or things like that, it's just gonna make the person wanting your help less. Like, my advice when someone offers you help is, think of it as a trial. Try it out this time. If the person is a bad helper, you can tell them, like, you're not helping. Or, you know what, never mind, let me do it myself. If it's someone that you know, then you know how to talk to them, right? And then, or you can also, like in my case, I know some people that once, like my dad, for example, I can't argue with my dad. It's impossible, literally impossible. So, if something like that occurs, once it started, like, do you need help? Sure, go ahead. Then he's gonna take over, or like, well, sometimes it's actually helpful. So that's why I actually try it out. But if it's one of those cases where he's just taking over, it's like, okay, well, go ahead and do it. I let him do it. And then the next time, I'm going to be like, no, it's okay. I think I can do it by myself. You know, um, but you can always try once and it's fine, right? What's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to have one bad experience. It's worth taking the risk. Um, and yeah, like, it's not always easy to teach these people, well, you're terrible at helping, right? But it's also not impossible. Go ahead and try.